Hello, travelers. Boardman21 here, and today's build is the Squirrely Squirrels with the Beastmaster, in which we got the Herald of the Scurry, which is Sciurine's helm that turns your wolves into squirrels. They do reduced damage, but it also gives you a bunch of other benefits, such as having twice as many squirrels as you would have wolves. Now, while this is still a work in progress build, we're about level 75 on it at the moment. We've gotten to the point where our squirrels are doing huge damage, and we've got pretty good survivability. Now, there are a few uniques, or at least one unique that's needed for this, and that is the Herald of the Scurry. And there's a couple of other uniques that I'm using, which I'll show you in the gear section. But overall, this build came together quite fast. We've been leveling it for a couple of days, and we've already gotten into the end game. We've beaten Tier 1, Tier 2 dungeon. Tier 3 dungeon is giving us a little bit of an issue, but we'll be able to get through it as soon as we get some better gear and level up just a little bit more. A lot of our passive points at this point at the end game, we need to get into more aspect of the shark, the lynx, the viper, and some more aspect of the boar for more defense. And we also want to find a little bit more of resistance on our gear, as well as get up to 100% critical strike avoidance, some things that we are missing. However, this build does work in the end game. We're still going through the timelines. We're in the level 90 ones right now. Pretty soon we'll get to empowered. I think another day and we'll be into the end game. But overall, the squirrels are very fast. They hit really, really hard. They attack very, very quickly. And then all you have to do is buff them up with Warcry. Now, this is going to be basically the Ice Bite Wolves, except we're using squirrels. And what it's doing is converting all added damage from all sources for your minions into cold damage and then giving them AoE with it. And as you can see on the screen when they attack, there's kind of that big white splash that happens on the screen. That's Ice Bite. That's the actual animation for Ice Bite, so you can see it actually procs quite a bit. They have a 40% chance on every attack, and it's critting right now on level 90 mobs for about 2k to 3k, depending on if they have all the buffs up. They get a lot of flat damage from the Frenzy Totem. Warcry gives them a bunch of critical strike chance, and then the 𝐓𝐢𝐦𝐬 gives them a bunch of damage. But let's go ahead and get into the skills, the interactions, and just how this works. For skills, I'm running a Summon Wolf, Swipe, Warcry, Summon Frenzy Totem, and Fury Leap. For the Summon Wolf, remember the squirrels get everything from this tree. They benefit the same way that the wolves did. Now, we wanted as much damage as possible, so we built into all the more damage modifiers. We got the +1, and we went with Ice Bite. So here we've got 3 points in Savage Hunters for more damage, 4 points in Legendary Bite for more melee damage and melee crit chance, 3 points in Tundra Stalkers, 3 points in Frozen Fangs. We do have one more point for this build, which will go into this, so they'll have a 40% chance. Unfortunately, if you take the helm off and put it back on, it takes out the 2 points because the helm does come with +2 levels. 1 point in Winterborn, 1 point in Pack Hunters, so that you get +1 maximum companions. 4 points on the Hunt, so they have more attack speed and move speed, and 2 points in Howl of the Might, so they get 20% more damage. Of course, when you howl, this is tripled, so they actually get 60% more damage. Although you don't have 100% uptime of that, you do have 100% of the 20% more damage. And then for Swipe, we just have this set up so that we can leech as much health and get pretty close to 100% critical strike chance with it, so that if we need to get some life because we took a hit, we can just hit an enemy like one time and our life will refill. So we have 2 points in Aspect of the Panther, 1 point in Feline Hunter, 4 points in Ambush, 4 points in Apex Predator, 8 points in Way of the Hunt, 2 points in Wingarian Reach. Now, you can definitely switch out some of the points for the crit and crit multi and build into getting some mana back if you're having any sort of mana issues. I know that on my build, you won't see me spamming Warcry all the time or using Leap because we don't have any mana regen at all. So it feels like we're kind of always low on mana since we have Howl and we have the Frenzy Totem always being casted as much as possible for damage. For Warcry, we have this set up so that you can use it every 5 seconds. It's also because the wolves are getting their damage converted into all cold damage. We have the cold spec for Warcry to really boost that damage. So we've got 2 points in Deep War, 4 points in Battle Cry to give the wolves and us 100% more crit chance, 1 point in Germon's Wrath to turn everything cold, 5 points in Frostclaw for increased 250% damage for us and for the squirrels, and 1 point in Bringer of Winter for that 100% crit chance. So when we use Warcry for 4 seconds, the squirrels get 200% increased critical strike chance and 250% increased cold damage, and match that up with a aspect of the shark, an aspect of the lynx, a howl, and a summon frenzy totem all at the same time, and they're going to be doing about 50k crits on the training dummy right now, and we still haven't built into all of our proper gear to get a lot more minion damage increase, so there's definitely a much higher ceiling for what we can do here. We then also have 1 point in Staggering War, 1 point in Juggernaut, 1 point in Kinetic Scream, 2 points in Shredding Howl, and 1 point in Shallow Breath. For Summon Frenzy Totem, we have this set up to buff just the squirrels so that they get the most benefit out of it. We've got 4 points of Rapidity for that increased Frenzy effect, 5 points in Beast Style Frenzy so they get 20 added melee physical damage for 4 seconds after we summon a totem that will be converted to cold in an Ice Bite attack. 5 points in Lead the Pack so that when we use Howl, they end up getting 250% increased critical strike chance. So you can see how they're getting a lot of crit chance. They're getting 250% from this, and then they're also getting 200% from Warcry. And then you have aspect of the Lynx, and you have some passives that give them critical strike chance, which is awesome. You can get very, very close if you add in some plus melee critical strike chance for minions through totems and on either your chest. You can't do it on the helm, so that's a unique slot, but it does allow them to get to 100% once we've fully geared into it. We've also got 3 points of Revitalizing Totem, 1 point in Symbol of Haste, and 1 point in Symbol of Selflessness, so that it's 30% more effective for the totem, and that's going to increase the attack speed of the squirrels. We're also going to build in with our last point, giving them some physical and elemental resist just to help with their survivability. For Fury Leap, we have this set up so that we can give extra global damage to us and our minions, and then also so that they leap with us. The damage aspects of this don't really matter, it's just how it's spec'd because there was nowhere else for us to put the points. So we got 5 points in Warrior's Entrance for 100% increased global damage. This does work for our minions as well, which is a nice boost for them. 3 points in Rage for global increased attack speed, 1 point in Pack Leader so that all the squirrels will leap when we do, 3 points in Panther Strike, 4 points in Crater, 4 points in Savage Impact, and 1 point in Aspect of the Mantis. Again, these last 4 nodes, you can put the points anywhere that you want in the tree. For passives, I've got 21 points in the Primalist base class with 6 points in Primal Medicine, 5 points in Natural Attunement, 1 point in Harmony of Blades. This is because we are dual wielding at the moment, but you can go sword and shield and it'll still work really good and you will have more survivability. 5 points in Hunter's Restoration, 1 point in Primal Strength, and 3 points in Survival of the Pack. No points in Shaman or Druid, and 63 points currently in the Beastmaster, with 8 points in 𝐓𝐤 Strength, 4 points in Boarheart, 5 points in Porcine Constitution, 1 point in Call of the Pack, 1 point in Savagery, 1 point in Ambush, 1 point in Rending Maul, 1 point in Hunters of the Deep, 4 points in the Chase for their attack speed, 5 points in Axe and Claw to give them more flat melee physical damage, 1 point in Life of the Wildness to give them our endurance so that they have even better survivability, especially at low life. 5 points in Circle of Life, 1 point in Dragon Slayer, 2 points in Ocean Maul, 1 point in Feeding Frenzy, 6 points in Cry of the Lynx to give increased critical strike chance, and when we use Howl, it's going to give us Aspect of the Lynx duration. We do need to max that out to make sure we have 100% uptime of it, with 6 points in Serrated Claws for critical strike multiplier and chance for both us and the squirrels, and then 5 points in Critical Bite, which every time they do a critical strike, they're going to get 15% of that damage leached back to them, which is a huge amount, especially when they're critting for about 3k. On top of all the other leech that they have, this will help keep their survivability very, very high. We also then have 4 points in Viper Fangs for the chance to get the aspect of the Viper buff, and also for the melee attack speed for both us and the companions. Now on top of that, the things you do want to max out, you want to max out the Viper Fangs, you want to max out the Cry of the Lynx, you want to max out Ocean Maul, and then we want to max out the Ancient Might, and maybe a couple of points into the buff duration to make sure we have 100% uptime of everything going. We'll work towards that as we gain the last 20 or 25 levels of the character. So again, this build has not been maxed. It is a work in progress, just so you know. We do have a couple of uniques, though, that are pretty rare. First off, we have Herald of the Scurry, which we did a bunch of farming for. We ended up farming for only 5 hours for it, and actually got it pretty quick, but it will probably take you a bit longer unless you have an Echo Whip completely set up, which is what we had, which made it a bit easier. We hunted on the Black Sun, that's where you have the best chance for it, and we ended up getting it from one of those set Echo rewards, or the timeline Echo rewards that are half orange, half green. We also have a legendary Harker's Phoenix. This is not required, but this definitely is a big boost of damage. You can also use a 𝐓𝐢𝐬𝐬 of blood if you like, but what this gives us is this gives us a little bit move speed, critical strike chance, a bunch of melee physical damage, and then we also ended up rolling armor shred on it as well as melee attack speed, which is really nice for stacking aspect of the shark. It also gives us +1 to Primalist melee attacks, gives added melee fire damage for us and the minions. Again, that'll be converted to cold on a cold bite. It gives us a huge amount of increased melee damage, fire pen, and if a companion goes down, it'll automatically revive one after 2 seconds with a 10-second cooldown, giving them a bunch of added melee fire damage, which is huge because that melee fire damage that it gives them is going to be converted to cold as well, so it's a ton of damage for them. You also have to have a claw or a fang, and then we have Eric's Bones. You don't have to have this, but Eric's Bones makes it really nice for our minions to apply armor shred on hit, and it gives them a lot of armor shred effect, so it kind of almost doubles their damage against single targets that take a while, like bosses or really high health rares. And then for the rest of the gear, we just have as much health and resistance as we can get. We went for some minion damage, minion health, some minion dodge, and things like that. We definitely want to work towards getting some more items. I would love to seal some items and get in some more resistance because we are missing some. We'd love to get in more minion damage and more minion health to increase their survivability. For idols, we went with things that gave us health or minion damage. We also can get critical strike avoidance if you want to throw that on there. We got some elemental resist, and the 1x4s were giving us some added flat minion melee damage, which was nice. An increased aspect of the Lynx effect is also really nice so that you get all of those benefits. And then our 1x3 here has increased minion critical strike chance. For blessings, nothing super fancy, nothing that's needed or required for the build, but you can get leech if you want. I will be working towards getting our critical strike avoidance and working towards getting more endurance through our blessings because we don't have a whole lot of room on gear. Now for the character sheet, we're sitting at level 76. We have just over 2,000 health. Again, our resistances are not capped. We are working on this. Should be able to get a little bit more armor. For damage, not really anything for us. For defense, again, we're not capped on critical strike avoidance yet. We do have a bit of endurance. We're hoping that we get a good roll on a critical strike avoidance blessing. That'll cap us out, and we can do the same thing with endurance. For minions, they have about 150% increased health and about 400% increased damage for their melee attacks. So for how to play this build and the skill rotation, first off, that's what the squirrels look like. You can see they got blood on their face, right on their nose and their teeth, and then they also have it on their hands, and that's from clawing and eating their victims. And then all I like to do is put Howl and Frenzy or Summon Frenzy Totem on autocast so that they're always going off. And after that, all you do is they will run around, attack everything, and do great damage. Use the occasional Warcry. Make sure you attack every now and then to give them an aspect of the shark. You can see without the Warcry or the aspect of the shark that they're already doing 10 to 20k hits, but aspect of the shark does give them increased melee damage. So when you're on a rare boss and you're getting 10 stacks of it, they're actually going to do a lot more damage than this. But when you throw on a Warcry and throw in some aspect of the shark, you can see that their damage is going to go up a bit. Here you can see they're doing 20k plus now. Sometimes in there's 30, 40k hits. Like when everything stacks and synergizes together, they actually do quite a bit of damage, which is really, really crazy. They hit for much more than I thought they would. And honestly, I think at the higher end cap, if you get some sealed gear or maybe some really good exalted gear, you're going to end up doing 50 to 100k crits. I think it's totally possible to do that with these. To level this build, all we did to level it up was use wolves. We already had the uniques and the legendaries ready to go. You can't wear it till level 63 for the weapon and level 70 for the helm, but just leveling up with wolves, we did it in one day and it felt really, really good. It went pretty smooth and we didn't have any issues. That's going to be it for this guide. As always, stay safe and enjoy some gameplay.